Do you know anything about false memories? Has it ever happened that, talking about the past with loved ones, you realize that your memories differ from what they remember? There are logical and simple explanations for this. For example, scientists say that our memories change because we interpret them over and over again, forgetting what it was really like. However, I had the opportunity to see confirmation that some events in my life were literally rewritten. I found a finished film that I shot in my youth. But what's surprising, it wasn't shot to the end. I wouldn't forget this. Where did the final scenes come from? Who edited this film? I found an explanation for this. But before I explain my theory, I have to tell you about one event in my life. 4 years ago, I almost drowned. Later you will understand why you need to know this. We went with classmates to the lake to celebrate the end of the session. Without alcohol, just to sit and swim. We bought ready-made kebabs in a local cafe. Expensive, but no hassle. I can't stand such gatherings, to be honest. I always think I'd rather go home do my own thing. But the guys were having fun. Music is blaring from the car, the sky is blue. There are almost no people around. We sat for a while and then went into the water. Some even swam to the middle of the lake, and I sat on the blanket. "Steven, come over here," they shouted at me. "I can't swim," I replied. "We'll teach you," Sophia said to me, peeking out from behind a tree. She was tying her swimsuit there. I remember well that teaching me to swim was her idea. And I didn't mind. Sophia was cute, thin, and dark-eyed. She taught me like a child. She said that water is my friend, that I just need to lie down and relax. I didn't take this venture seriously, but I tried. I lay on the water, trying to paddle with my hands and feet at the same time. It wasn't the best place to learn to swim. It wasn't even a lake, but a flooded sand quarry. You move a little away from the shore, and it's already deep. No shallows. But I gained courage, realizing that I could swim a little if I took more air and didn't raise my head. I decided to practice like this swim underwater, and then learn to keep my head. I asked the guys to watch me and swam. And when a minute later I raised my head, I realized that I was not swimming along the shore at all. There was no bottom under my feet. I panicked and started to drown. I don't know how far I was carried away. I saw nothing but the sky. I wanted to scream, but water kept getting into my mouth. I didn't flounder for long. It turns out, a person's strength leaves quickly if they lack air. I was being pulled down. I ended up underwater. I could no longer move either my hands or my feet. For a while, I still saw green murk, and then everything I blacked out. Blacked out is the right word. Otherwise, you can't say, "Here you were, and now you're gone." They say that at such moments your whole life flashes before your eyes. Nonsense. I didn't even have time to think. How did I not drown? I don't know. I came to already above the water and feel someone's iron hand is pulling me by the hair. And I myself am paddling with my hands, floundering with my hands, floundering with my feet. I'm choking, my lungs are burning, but I'm swimming. Brian pulled me out. For more than an hour, I painfully coughed up water from my lungs. The guys surrounded me, and someone was always trying to call an ambulance. And Flynn, take it and say, "Why did you go into the water if you swim so badly?" This infuriated me. He was the one who disliked it the most when someone sat on the shore. He was the one who yelled for me not to be afraid to go deeper. I said that they almost drowned me themselves, and now they're making me the guilty one. Of course, I went overboard in the heat of the moment. And then the guys started yelling that no one was persuading me, no one was forcibly pulling me into the lake, and that I could be lying at the bottom right now. I didn't like the fact that my classmates were so stubbornly avoiding responsibility. They say they saved me, and I scared everyone. Ungrateful pig. We had joint plans for the summer, but from that day on, everything changed. I didn't call any of them. Closer to the start of the next course, I cooled down. They did save me after all. They didn't just stand there with their mouths open. I later thanked all of them, especially Brian. I asked him how he lifted me from the bottom. After all, I felt how I was sinking when I lost consciousness. Brian replied that he doesn't remember such a thing. He told me that he saw how I was floundering, swam up and pulled me out by the hair. He didn't dive under the water after me. Strange. Did I surface on my own? However, this didn't seem important to me. A lot of time has passed since that incident, and I lived my life peacefully. I managed to graduate from university, get a job, and move out of my parents' house. I've long lost touch with my classmates. Now we only congratulate each other on birthdays, and maybe I wouldn't have known about the oddities of my rewritten past if it weren't for problems with my computer. Windows crashed. My computer was old, barely breathing. My parents bought it for me. They still had the disk with the program. I went to them reluctantly. They always have two questions for me: when am I getting married, and when will there be grandchildren? And they also like to remind me that they helped me with the apartment just so that I could start my own family. So what? Should I marry the first person I meet? Young people these days are always in a hurry, my mother reproached me again while I was rummaging through the closets. When I was 26, you were already in first grade. I finally found the box with the old discs. I took the whole box. I wanted to get home as soon as possible. In the evening, I reinstalled Windows and started sorting through the remaining discs in the box, just out of curiosity. And among the old games, I found a disc that was labeled with a black marker, Our Movie. I immediately understood what kind of film it was. Victory of True Feelings. Lord, what a ridiculous title. At that time, when I was a 17-year-old teenager, it seemed very successful. An unfinished film that we shot with my friend Olivia. She is no longer alive. She died 6.5 years ago. Then melancholy swept over me. I thought there is no we anymore, and there was no Our Movie. Of course, I decided to review what we filmed there. I started to download the movie to my computer. That's when the mystical inconsistencies with the past began. I immediately noticed that the file was unusually heavy. An 8-minute fragment couldn't weigh that much. I remember well that I recalculated the video so that it wouldn't weigh more than necessary. All the footage we shot with Olivia was edited right away. And we recorded the finished file on blanks so as not to lose it if something happens to the computer. I launch it and can't believe my eyes. The film lasts more than 15 minutes, but we edited about 8 minutes then. What's there? It all started as usual, a lyrical melody, a dark screen, the title in a worn-out italic font, Victory of True Feelings. The first scene, guys are playing street ball on the sports ground. I scroll past the 8th minute. With the mouse, a cute blonde girl clenches her fist. She is cheering on a tall, skinny guy before the final game. It can't be. I scroll further. The final game. A little further, the cup is in the hands. Even further, the credits are crawling up. How is this? The last scenes were not shot. I felt like I was going crazy. Do you think that in 8 years it just slipped my mind that we finished the film? No, it's impossible. The unfinished work victory of true feelings was a serious disappointment of my youth for me. Now let me tell you what kind of film it was and who Olivia was. We met when she was 17 and I was almost 18. She was in the 11th grade. I was finishing college. We met thanks to common interests. I had the idea to make a film, and she had already made a peculiar remake of the horror film The Ring with her friends. My friend introduced us. Olivia was his girlfriend's cousin. We became friends immediately and strongly. At first, we corresponded late into the night in ICQ. Then we wandered the streets until sunset. And then we started visiting each other. We watched dozens of films together. We especially loved Asian horror films. Even without voiceovers, we watched them without subtitles. Together we spent 7 happy months. Was I in love with Olivia? Yes and no. On the one hand, how else? A beautiful girl, she shares all my interests. It's impossible for a young guy not to fall in love. But on the other hand, I was offended by her coolness. I had a low opinion of myself. I thought that Olivia was not a bird of my flight. She was good at everything. She had a beautiful face and the figure of a gymnast. She played the piano. She studied English and French. She had clothes for running, outfits for going to the theater and restaurant. Her father was an associate professor at a prestigious institute, and her mother was the director of a local art gallery. And I was skinny. I was only interested in cinema, literature, and basketball. I had a few t-shirts, a pair of jeans, and shorts for playing. My father was no less than Olivia's parents. He drove a Ferrari, had reached a high position. But against his background, I looked too pale. Not a prince, in one word. Olivia and I hugged, held hands, pressed cheek to cheek to cheek. She would rest her head on my shoulder. And all of this didn't tell me anything at the time. I was waiting for other signals. By the way, I played in not the best team. Not that we were weak, but our attitude was wrong. Instead of the will to win, we had self-irony. Even the name of our team was such mosses, and we played like mosses. We reached the city final several times, but never won. And then I had the idea to make a film about love, about friendship, and about basketball. The plot was this: the main character, of course I played him, is in love with a girl. She was played by my acquaintance from college. And this girl is in love with a handsome basketball player. This role went to my friend. At the beginning of the film, this girl stands at the fence, watching the one she loves play street ball with the guys on the school park court. In fact, the girl is in love not with the guy himself, but with his fame and popularity. She thinks once they are together, the whole school will be envious. The girl approaches the handsome basketball player after the game and offers to take a walk together. And he coldly replies to her that he doesn't have time for this. Now the girl stands alone on the court. She lowered her head, almost crying. And then another guy comes to the court, in a t-shirt and jeans. A romantic. My role. Bonnie. What did you find in him? You'd better take a walk with me. I have time, says my hero. Leave me alone now. The girl is cold with her admirer. He has no feelings for you. But I do. The unlucky guy doesn't calm down. I remember these ridiculous dialogues by heart. The girl walks away, and my hero runs after her to hear the answer. He won the championship cup last year. What have you achieved? Win the cup. Then we'll see, says the girl without turning around. The guy is left alone on the court. And then Olivia's character appears. She has a basketball in her hands, and she says that you can win the cup if you join a team and prepare well for the tournament. Do you want me to help you with everything Olivia's character offers? I wrote this role specifically for her. The plot is more suitable for a children's magazine than for a short film, right? But we were shooting a serious school melodrama. Then there were several scenes where it was just me and Olivia. Here's a friend watching as the guy throws the ball into the hoop. Here she is helping him fill out the application to join the team. Here are the throws into the hoop again. And here is Olivia's character fanning him with a towel, as if he's not a basketball player, but some kind of boxer. And another scene where friends walk together on the sidewalk and talk about their successes in the upcoming tournament. This was supposed to be the end of the unfinished part of the film. That's what I thought. I was amazed when scenes that were not filmed started. Just forgot. Many years have passed. Filmed, not filmed. Will you remember everything? Well, no. Those ruined shootings were one of the brightest events of my youth and an ugly knot on the rope of our friendship with Olivia. Imagine that you remember how you rested in the village at your grandmother's from summer to summer, and then it turns out that you had no grandmother and no village either. That's how I felt too. Only everything was the opposite for me. A finished film with my participation appeared out of nowhere. Here's how everything was 8 years ago. Having decided to shoot a short film, I immediately sat down to write the script. I detailed the scenes. I painstakingly drew the storyboard, spending the best May days at home. I walked around the supposed shooting locations. I looked at where and at what time the sun would be, what the light would be like. Olivia was thrilled with the idea, the script, and everything we were doing. Several scenes were ready, shot and edited. We watched them until we were tired and showed them to everyone we could. There was not much left to shoot. An episode where Bonnie, a girl who sighed for a handsome basketball player, watches as the main character diligently practices on the court. And then the game and the predictable triumph of the main character. Everything was ready for shooting. I agreed with the guys from 2 teams. The coach allowed us to shoot in the hall for at least 2 days. We even had extras. Many acquaintances wanted to watch the filming process. And we had a cup as a prop. And everything would have worked out, but then there was a problem. The day before the shooting, Olivia and I had a big fight. Olivia had a friend named Charlotte, and she disliked me from the start. I'm not exactly sure why. Probably it was just typical jealousy. And of course, I didn't like this Charlotte either. On the eve of the shooting in the sports hall, Olivia and I were supposed to prepare the equipment, call everyone so they wouldn't forget about tomorrow, and do a lot more. But Olivia was late. She went to Charlotte and stayed there longer than expected. I called her, got nervous, and started to get angry. It seemed to me that Charlotte was deliberately delaying Olivia just to irritate me. Olivia arrived an hour late, and I was angry. I wanted to convince her of how naive she was, and that she didn't notice her friend's manipulations. Olivia also got angry. I had never seen her like that before. Why should I waste my time because of your friend? I couldn't stand it. Why should I spend time on your film? Olivia retorted. Snap. The rope broke. What hurt me the most was that she called the film mine when it was ours. We had a fight. There were no shootings the next day. Without Olivia, they were impossible. She had an important role. The camera was hers. And there was no mood to shoot. Later, Olivia said that she had been waiting for my call all day. She wanted to call herself but couldn't. I couldn't either. The resentment was strong. We didn't talk for 2 days. That's when I realized how strong my feelings were. It wasn't just friendship. Olivia missed me too. She later admitted that she even cried. So we didn't quarrel for long. After 2 days, we called each other, met, hugged tightly, became friends again. And what about the film? We'll finish shooting. We have time, we said. When our friends asked us about it, it was somehow awkward. It was a sore spot. And in general, without shooting, our relationship became somewhat incomplete. Before, a common cause united us, and now we were friends just like that without a goal. The film was abandoned. Summer passed. College was behind, and I couldn't get into the university that year. I received a draft notice, and expecting adventures, I voluntarily went to the army. Olivia saw me off, but when I returned a year later, she was no longer interested in me. She had a boyfriend. A motorcyclist. One of those who, apart from their motorcycle, is not interested in anything else. He posted statuses about speed on Facebook. He wore a leather jacket. It turns out a girl needed so little, and our friendship was blown away like the wind. But once Olivia and I met, we went to a cafe to sit. At first, she was shy. After all, we hadn't seen each other for a long time. But then she began to confide. I liked you because you always invented something, Olivia said. You wrote poems, shot films. You were the first guy with whom I was not bored. I thought about you a lot. I thought constantly. I remember how she lowered her eyes then. She was shy. I missed my happiness. We met then as if we summed up our friendship. We had no more dinners together. A few months later, and Olivia was gone. She and her boyfriend on a motorcycle crashed into a truck. The guy died instantly, and Olivia lay in intensive care for several days and also died without regaining consciousness. That's what I remembered. But now in front of me was an alternative history. A short film, dragged out in places, a lot of unnecessary plans. There are jerky frames, terrible sound, but a finished film. Here are the shootings in the sports hall. The guys are playing basketball. The same guys who asked, "Aren't you going to shoot your film?" Everything is according to the script. The final game is going on. The main character, that is, I, is leading the ball to the hoop. The opponents seem to be trying to take the ball away. It looks fake. The fans are worried. They take turns showing the faces of Olivia and the girl who turned down the guy at the beginning of the film. The ball is flying into the hoop. Hooray. The audience is jubilant. Everyone congratulates my hero as if he alone won the whole game. The next frame, the main character stands with a gilded cup in his hands, and the girl for whom he did all this throws herself around his neck. She rejoices for him, hugs him, and he, through her shoulder, looks at his friend who prepared him for this game. The friend stands aside. She smiles at him, shows a thumbs up, but her eyes are sad. Olivia played well. It's the background of all the pretense, a real actress. My hero gets out of the girl's embrace, gives the cup to someone from his team, and goes to his friend. They look at each other tenderly. Here the viewer should understand what victory of true feelings means. The girl, whom the main character dreamed of conquering, looks at them in bewilderment. In the finale, a happy couple leaves the hall holding hands. This was not in the script. Probably they came up with it during the shooting. The end. But who filmed all this? When the credits started to crawl on the screen, I had only one explanation: I was going crazy, and I had hallucinations. Imagine what it's like to find out something like this when you're alone in an apartment and it's dark outside. I rewound the film many times. I rewatched the second half. Everything was real, even though it didn't match reality at all. After recovering a bit from the shock, I called my old friend, the same one who dated Olivia's cousin and played the handsome basketball player in our film. On the phone, I didn't explain anything. I just promised that I would show him something that would make his jaw drop. The intrigued friend soon rushed over. I turned on the film for him from the very beginning for a greater effect. And I carefully watched his reaction. Here are the non-existent scenes on the screen. I look, and my friend is still sitting with a bored face and waiting for what will make his jaw drop. "Lucas, don't you understand? We never filmed this." I couldn't stand it. What? How did we not shoot it? My friend was surprised. I was stunned when I realized that my memories differ from what Lucas remembers. The shooting wasn't canceled? No, it wasn't canceled. At first, Lucas looked at me as if I had a leaky memory. Then he began to think that I had started a silly prank, and when my questions tired him, he began to doubt that I was healthy. I had to pretend that I was starting to remember something, and asked to tell more. "You still wanted to shoot some kind of film about love, but then you broke up," the friend told. "What did we do?" I couldn't hide my surprise. "Well, we remained friends," the friend clarified. According to Lucas's memories, Olivia and I were dating. About 3 months. A long time for youth. Later, my friend brought a photo from his 18th birthday as proof. He was one of the last people who printed and inserted photos into an album. In that photo, Olivia and I pressed our foreheads and lips close together. Friends don't do that. I remember that birthday. And Olivia was there with me. We even had a little drink. But there were no kisses. I would have forgotten how. My friend remembered that we announced our relationship when we finished editing the film. Lucas didn't remember the reason for our breakup. He assumed that we started to quarrel. He also said that I went to the military enlistment office out of despair. I was deeply upset about the breakup. And what's next? What happened to Olivia? She crashed on a motorcycle with her boyfriend. She died in intensive care, never regaining consciousness. Everything adds up here. But an entire episode of my life has been rewritten. How can this be explained? Tangible evidence suggests that it's my memory that's deceiving me, not the other way around. No, the insanity theory doesn't satisfy me. I decided to find another explanation for this. And I remembered events from 4 years ago when I almost drowned. Back then, the guys convinced me that no one wanted to teach me to swim and that no one was pulling me from the bottom. Doesn't this mean that I actually drowned in that lake? Sounds crazy? Let me explain. Do you believe in life after death? I never did. But now I have my own theory about it. Imagine that there are thousands or even millions of similar realities, and we exist simultaneously in each of them. If a person dies in one of the worlds, their consciousness switches to another body in another world where they remained alive. Is that clearer? But each version of reality differs slightly from the other. This explains the inconsistencies in the past that I might not have known about. I remember how I was sinking, how I was dying, and probably I died in that reality. But now I'm here, in a body more adapted to life. Here I wasn't so vulnerable to get offended at Olivia and cancel the shooting. Here I was a bit braver to tell her about my feelings. And finally here, I can swim, albeit not very well. I checked this recently. I swim and keep my head above water. I started asking people if they had something similar. And one of my acquaintances told me that his sister had a similar case. When they were teenagers, their mother asked them to wash the windows. At that time, his sister panicked and refused to even approach the windows. My friend washed the windows alone and was terribly angry at his sister. But in the evening, she explained to him that she was afraid to fall and break again. The sister was convinced that the last time she was washing the window, she fell from the third floor. She was lying on the asphalt, bleeding and dying. And then she was back on the windowsill, alive and unharmed. Such a story cannot be perceived adequately, even by the one who tells it. Over time, my friend's sister began to say that it was a dream. I told my story to another person. A friend of my father, a doctor from a research institute. I asked him to fantasize. He thinks interestingly. So the doctor explained it almost the same way as I did imagine that our body is a terminal and the server with our eye is floating somewhere in the information field. Suppose we have many bodies in different worlds, and all of them are connected to one eye server. Global survival network, that's how the doctor named this theory. I dug through all the photo albums. I read kilometers of my correspondence on social networks. I didn't find any serious discrepancies with my memory. Some little things seemed unfamiliar to me, but I could just forget. And I didn't save any correspondence with Olivia. It's a pity. But if I'm right, and there are multiple realities with all possible versions of our lives, then we will all live to old age. Is all this too optimistic? Yes. If there is a theory, then evidence will always be found. That's also true. And yet, I believe that there is a reality where Olivia didn't crash on a motorcycle and stayed alive. And maybe there is one where we overcame all the difficulties and stayed together. I recently had such a dream. Maybe dreams also mean something.